New regulations usher in a new era for Formula One in 2024. Formula One is headed for its biggest technical overhaul in decades in 2024, with wide-sweeping new regulations aimed at improving the on-track action. The new rules will drastically change how the cars look and perform in an effort to make races closer and more exciting. After years of increasing complexity and costs, F1 hopes to hit the reset button and create a more sustainable and competitive future. Let's examine the major areas of change coming to F1 in 2024. Budget cap levels the playing field. Arguably the most impactful of the new regulations is the imposition of a budget cap to limit how much teams can spend on car development and operations. For the 2024 season, the budget cap will be set at $135 million per year. This is down from estimated spending by top teams like Mercedes, Ferrari, and Red Bull of over $300 million per year in recent seasons. The massive budgets of F1's powerhouse teams have contributed to a lack of parity on the grid. The wealthiest teams have been able to simply outspend the rest of the field by 3-to-1 margins in some cases. This financial arms race has made it nearly impossible for smaller teams to catch up. The budget caps intend to curb runaway spending and prevent the richest teams from maintaining an insurmountable advantage. $135 million is still a massive budget, but it creates a more level playing field. It will require the top teams to be more selective in how they allocate resources. With less room for excess, teams will need to run tighter, smarter operations. For smaller teams, the budget cap offers hope of closing the performance gap if they can maximize their more limited resources. It reflects a move towards greater financial fairness in F1 and making competition about more than just who can spend the most money. The end goal is a grid where a team's success is determined more by operational efficiency and driver skill rather than bank account size. Simplified aerodynamics for closer racing. Along with a budget cap, the most visible change in 2024 will be an overhaul of the car's aerodynamic regulations. Recent F1 cars have become fast-tuned with all manner of wings, flaps, turning vanes, barge boards, and other devices to manipulate airflow. This aero complexity made the cars extremely sensitive to disturbances in airflow. The turbulent wake coming off leading cars has made it extraordinarily difficult for cars to follow closely behind one another through corners. This had led to reduced overtaking. The 2024 technical regulations aim to simplify aero via new front and rear wing designs and the use of Venture retinals underneath the car rather than complex barge boards and deflectors. The simplified shapes and surfaces are intended to greatly reduce the disruptive air wake trailing cars. By cutting down on dirty air, cars should be able to follow each other much more closely through corners without losing downforce. This will enable more overtaking maneuvers and side-by-side dicing for position. The new cars will certainly look noticeably different than the current generation, with cleaner and more visually appealing shapes. While technically complex under the skin, the more basic aerodynamic surfaces harken back to earlier eras of F1 when bodywork was cleaner. Many fans and drivers hope this will mark a return to a time when finer driver skills could overcome raw car performance advantages. 18-inch wheels and low-profile tires. In step with the move to simplified aero, 2024 also marks the introduction of larger 18-inch wheels and tires. Since the 1980s, F1 cars have run 13-inch wheels with high-profile tires. The new 18-inch wheels with super stiff, low-profile tires will aesthetically be more reminiscent of road cars. But more importantly, this switch is expected to have a significant impact on car performance and handling. The smaller sidewalls and stiffer construction of the new tires will decrease deflection and suspension travel. This should lower overall grip levels and put a greater emphasis on driver inputs and smoothness. With less cushioning from the tires and suspension, The 18-inch wheels are anticipated to place more stress on components like wheel bearings and suspension joints. Rides will likely be bumpier, requiring expert car control. Setup will become even more crucial with less margin for error. Just as the reduced aero downforce will allow closer racing, the new wheel and tire package should highlight driver skill over car advantage. Increased hybrid power units. While the chassis and aero regulations move towards simplification, the powertrains are going in the opposite direction in 2024. The current turbocharged 1.6-liter V6 hybrid engines will remain, but with more powerful electric power units, energy recovery and deployment will be increased to give drivers a bigger all-electric power boost during races. This improved hybrid assistance will compensate for any power losses resulting from the reduced aerodynamic downforce. The increase in electrical deployment may allow drivers to stretch full electric mode over longer portions of a lap. That would introduce new strategy decisions for drivers to make regarding when to use their extra electric punch to attack or defend. Even at 1.6 liters, the hybrid V6s are some of the most powerful engines ever in F1. The additional hybrid boost will make them even more so in 2024. Minimum weight limit increased. Cars will be required to meet a higher minimum weight limit of 796 kilograms for 2024, up from 752 kilograms in recent seasons. The increase accounts for the heavier 18-inch wheel and tire package, but when paired with the potential reductions in downforce, the extra weight should put more mechanical grip on the tires. The raised weight limit will also give teams more flexibility in areas like suspension geometry tuning and ballast placement for balance. A heavier car is generally a slower car, but not if all teams are weighed down equally. Given the anticipated loss of downforce, the higher base weight will put performance more in the hands of drivers who can extract the most from their machines. Engine development frozen, but new fuels coming. One area not seeing major changes is the internal combustion side of the hybrid power units. The turbo V6 engines have been frozen in terms of development since 2020. The hardware specifications will remain unchanged through 2025, including for the 2024 season. This engine freeze means power gains will have to come from increased electrical recovery and deployment rather than internal tweaks. However, one key change coming in 2024 is a move to fully sustainable fuels. The current fossil fuel components will be replaced entirely by synthetic e-fuels up to 100% bio content. The new carbon-neutral fuels will align with F1's push for a net-zero carbon footprint by 2030. Performance-wise, the impact should be minimal, but it will certainly be a milestone from an environmental perspective. Between budget caps, standardized engines, and reduced aero, F1 is clearly pushing towards economic and competitive sustainability.